Welcome, listeners, to this enlightening journey through The Lean Startup, a revolutionary business book penned by Eric Ries. This transformative read, extending over 336 pages, is not just a book, but a manifesto for startups worldwide. It's an innovative guide, a path to success carved out by the insightful Eric Ries, who has become synonymous with a fresh approach to business development and management. The Lean Startup has made its way to the must-read lists of entrepreneurs and startup founders alike, and for good reason. It offers a unique perspective, an opportunity to view business through a distinct lens that focuses on agility, adaptability, and customer-focused development. It's not just about building a business, it's about building a successful, sustainable business that can weather the storms of uncertainty and emerge stronger. So buckle up as we delve into the insights and wisdom contained within the pages of The Lean Startup. Let's embark on our journey through The Lean Startup, beginning with the first few chapters. In the initial chapters, Eric Ries introduces us to the concept of the Build, Measure, Learn feedback loop. This loop is the backbone of the Lean Startup methodology, designed to turn business ideas into products swiftly and efficiently. It's a three-step process. You build a product or service, measure how customers respond, and then learn whether to pivot or persevere. For instance, the book shares the story of the author's own startup, IMVU, which developed a 3D instant messaging product. They built the product, measured user response, and learned that customers weren't ready for such an advanced feature. This led them to pivot and redesign their product, ultimately leading to a more successful outcome. Next, we delve into the importance of validated learning. This concept is about rigorously testing a startup's vision continuously. It's about learning what your customers want and learning it quickly. The goal is to understand whether the product being built is progressing in line with the customer's needs and wants. An example from the book to illustrate this is the case of the grocery delivery service, Webvan. They built a state-of-the-art infrastructure, only to realize that the demand for their service was not as high as they had anticipated. Had they focused on validated learning, they might have discovered this discrepancy before investing heavily in infrastructure. The book also introduces us to the concept of lean thinking. It's all about eliminating waste, any activity that does not add value to the product from the customer's perspective. In a startup, this could mean anything from unnecessary meetings to developing features that customers don't want. Lean thinking encourages startups to focus on what truly matters, creating value for customers. To exemplify this, the book discusses the story of Dropbox. Instead of spending months building a perfect product, they released a simple video demonstrating their technology. The overwhelming positive response confirmed the demand for their product, thus validating their idea before making a significant investment. These initial chapters lay the groundwork for the Lean Startup methodology, challenging traditional ways of doing business. They encourage us to be more experimental, to learn from our customers, and to continuously adapt. The Build, Measure, Learn feedback loop, validated learning, and lean thinking are not just concepts. They are tools that can help startups succeed in an unpredictable market. So, as we navigate through the challenging waters of entrepreneurship, let's remember to build, measure, learn, and pivot our way to success. Because in the world of startups, it's not about who has the best idea, but who learns the fastest. These initial chapters lay the groundwork for the Lean Startup methodology, challenging traditional ways of doing business. Continuing our journey through The Lean Startup, we now move on to the subsequent chapters. Chapter 5, titled Measure, introduces us to the concept of innovation accounting. As entrepreneurs, it's easy to get caught up in the thrill of creating something new. However, Ries argues that it's equally important to measure the impact of our innovations. He suggests a three-step process. First, use a minimal viable product to establish real-world data. Then, attempt to tune the engine from the baseline towards the ideal. Finally, make a decision to pivot or persevere. Now, what does Ries mean by pivot or persevere? This brings us to Chapter 6, fittingly titled Pivot or Persevere. Here, Ries explores the crucial decision that all startups face at some point, whether to stay the course or change direction. He emphasizes that a pivot is not a sign of failure, but rather a necessary course correction to test a new fundamental hypothesis about the product, strategy, and engine of growth. For example, the book talks about the company IMVU, which initially started as an instant messaging add-on, but pivoted to a standalone application when they realized that their add-on strategy was not working. Chapter 7, Batch, dives into the concept of batch size in the context of startups. Ries explains that larger batches may seem efficient on the surface, but they often lead to more waste, not less. He illustrates this with an example of envelope stuffing. If you have 1,000 letters to send out, do you fold all the letters first, then stuff all the envelopes, and finally seal them all? Or do you complete each letter in full before moving on to the next? Ries argues that the latter approach is more efficient, as it allows for quicker identification and correction of mistakes. In Chapter 8, Grow, Ries discusses the engines of growth. He identifies 3 engines: the sticky engine, the viral engine, and the paid engine. The sticky engine is all about customer retention. The viral engine is when the product itself prompts new customers to sign up. And the paid engine involves acquiring customers through advertising. Ries emphasizes that a startup should focus on one engine of growth at a time, and that engine should dictate the product development and marketing strategies. Finally, in Chapter 9, Adapt, Ries talks about the importance of adaptive organizations that can respond to changes in their environment. Through the story of the Japanese company Toyota, he demonstrates how empowering every employee to be an innovator can lead to a more resilient and innovative company. These chapters further build upon the lean startup methodology, providing practical advice for implementing it in a business setting. As we near the end of our journey through the lean startup, let's explore the final chapters. Eric Ries delves into the idea of an adaptive organization. He emphasizes the importance of a startup being versatile and able to adjust to changes swiftly. He uses the example of a software company that was able to pivot its business model in response to market trends, effectively saving itself from potential disaster. Next, he introduces the concept of the innovation sandbox. This is a space where new ideas can be tested with minimal risks. Ries illustrates this with the story of a large bank that allowed a small team to experiment with new business models. They operated independently, but within the confines of the sandbox, thus limiting potential damages while still fostering innovation. Lastly, Ries discusses the role of leadership in a lean startup. He posits that a leader's role is not to micromanage but to guide and nurture a culture of experimentation and learning. He gives the example of the CEO of a successful tech company who encouraged employees to learn from failures rather than fear them. These concluding chapters encapsulate the essence of the lean startup methodology, offering guidance on how to sustain and scale it. They remind us that a successful startup is not just about having a brilliant idea. It's about being able to adapt, innovate, and lead with a mindset of continuous learning. Scene script. Having journeyed through the lean startup, let's recap the key takeaways. Firstly, we have validated learning. This concept emphasizes the importance of experimentation over elaborate planning, customer feedback over intuition, and iterative design over traditional big design upfront development. Next, we delve into the build, measure, learn feedback loop. This cycle stresses on the need to build a minimum viable product, measure how it works in the real world, learn from the results, and then decide whether to pivot or persevere. Lastly, we touch upon adaptive leadership. It is about being flexible and able to adapt to changing circumstances. In a lean startup, leaders must be ready to pivot or change their strategy without changing their vision. These insights from the lean startup provide a roadmap for entrepreneurs and startup founders, guiding them towards success in today's rapidly changing business landscape.